is Vamshi Krishna, Director, Corporate Relations at Sewa Consulting. With over a decade of experience in the volunteering ecosystem, Vamshi has closely witnessed its evolution and has worked at the intersection of corporates, NGOs, and social impact initiatives. Please join with a huge round of applause. Please join me in welcoming with a huge round of applause, Vamshi Krishna.
Hi everyone. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thoda Josh. You had lunch also. Okay. Hi, I'm Vamshi, part of Sewa Consulting. But yeah, like Nirmala ma'am was mentioning, so I just do that for bread and butter and contentment in my life, right? So we'll speak more about volunteering and how can volunteering be designed so that it's fruitful for everyone, right? So I'm not going to speak anything which you don't know, but I'm trying to put everything together, what we have actually discussed. Like a lot of esteemed panel spoke about different things. So I'll try to bring in importantly two perspectives. One is if you're a corporate, how you can think through, and another one is if you're an NGO, how you can think through on the volunteering perspective, keeping focal point, which is community and what we want to give back. Are you all with me? Perfect. Okay, so we'll just talk about evolution and drivers. How it has actually, you have been seeing volunteering for almost more than a decade now, right? So how has that been evolved? And we are in the journey of moving to the next transition as such. Okay, and what are some of the important drivers what also will play a vital role for all of us, which we need to keep focus towards. So first one is the evolution. So two important terminologies, I guess the ball has already started to move in the right direction, which is from a transactional volunteering to a transformational volunteering, right? So now, just touch your heart and see where you're working and how you're working. That's very important. Are you still in a transactional mode, or are you transitioning yourself to a transformational mode, right? So what that also means is nowhere right now volunteering is like, a one-off tick box exercise for anybody, right? So it has its maturity in a lot of different ways what we are doing. If you just see the duration, one-time volunteering to now slowly things are transitioning to a sustainable volunteering and long-term volunteering, right? And similarly, you have different other aspects which I don't want to talk, but you can have a look at it. But now again, one more aspect, if you look at it, what was it earlier is I want to volunteer because my company organized it, right? That was the mood and motivation what employees really had. Now, if you see what they actually look at is I volunteer because it has a lot more meaningful change what it can bring to me and for the community. So there's a lot of shift what has happened in the volunteering when you see, how things are being checked or evaluated overall, right? So these are some important aspects which you need to look into, how the things are shifting in the market and how things are changing and how things are being also challenged between different stakeholders, right? So what are some of the drivers what we need to keep in mind are, I would say, 5 important things you can actually keep a tab on is a purpose economy. So right now what's actually happening is employees are seeking more value and meaning in the organization which they are being associated with, right, than the compensation what the organization can give. A lot more contentment is something what we also look at, more like a social value also what we can call, right? Technology. I guess a solid disruption for all of us was, I guess, COVID, right? So we were all traditionally working and we had more a face-to-face, physical meetings and discussions which were happening, changed to a virtual. And technology has played a pivotal role last 5-6 years if you see overall how things have changed, how things have become much more stronger. And another aspect which has added now is an hybrid model, right? So an hybrid model with a tech on and off working face to face also is making a lot of difference. So that's something what we haven't seen so much in the volunteering space, right? So it's only virtual or we do a physical, but can we think of hybrid concepts when we are designing volunteering, right? And the other aspect is skill-based volunteering. I wouldn't say we have transitioned completely to a skill-based volunteering, but the catch over here is how do we transition from a transactional to a skill-based volunteering, which is going to really help them come closer to what we want to achieve, right? On both sides, right? For for corporates as well as for the community itself. So that can happen with a smaller, I would say, capsules, where you are able to really communicate the meaning of why we are doing it, what we are doing it, and then take them through a slow and steady process. Like Neha mentioned, the boosters, right? So we need to give boosters to get them on board for the long-term investment or a contribution what they can do. So that's super critical for in the thought process of we designing a program as such, right? The other one is measurement and impact. So no more. I'll talk about it in the future slide also. So even the maturity and the evolution in the measurement and impact also has changed a bit, right? So we'll spend a little more time on that in the next slide. So we'll also look at what is in it for, I guess we have corporate audience, we have NGOs as well here, we have also academias. So I've tried to connect two dots. Academias I have missed, but probably I'll be able to see if I can do justice to it. So I'll just skip this slide, which is case study, interest of time, and I'll see if I can come back to it if there's no questions. So what's the business case? What is in it for everybody is what a lot of panelists also was striking a conversation on, right? So if I need to come here for a VolCon Plus, there should be something for us, right? So what is that clearly what businesses are looking for, and what has been an evolution there, and what is the gain in the last 1 decade is what in 3 points we'll just try to check. So if you see, the data says 91% of the volunteering, right, positively impacts the work experience for, and as well as the connections to employer, right? So here there are two stakeholders primarily. One is the employees and the other one is a corporate. So that's a kind of a shift what's actually coming in the volunteering space. It's no more a tick box exercise for even corporates, right? There's a lot of strategy, a lot of leadership investment coming into that particular aspect when they're designing and investing themselves in the program itself. So moving to the next one is 87%, right? Employees decide whether I should stay and be associated with this brand or no, right? So that's the kind of the intensity what it is able to bring to the table. So what that means is it's a really a big, I would say, an agenda point for even corporates to be invested in volunteering, right? So that's super important. Then the next one is 86% of volunteers or employees also has their career development aspect which they look through, which happens with the magic of volunteering itself, right? So that's the beautiful story of what is in it for corporates and employees. But now, is there a possibility that how NGO cohort over here can really make it meaningful for both the parties, right? So, since we have a lot of NGOs, I'm just like putting a question out there for all of you. Yeah, next slide. These are again some of the things what really makes a big shift to a corporate. Retentions increase, engagement increases. There is also a chance for leadership improvements, and then culture also gets built in. And it's no more like, a tick box exercise like I mentioned. It's an important talking point and a program which is being designed and safely carved out by different teams. Like it could be HR, CSR team, anybody. So this is more on on the corporate side, but now we'll talk about the NGO perspective, what it is and how it was, right? Yeah, next. So what's the reality and what's actually been the shift in the contribution? So if you see what has been some of the NGO realities is limited skill capacity, right? And fundraising challenges, I'm sure That is also one important thing. Lack of digital presence and tech also becomes a roadblock for NGOs. Long-term engagement over one-offs, right? So how do we transition, or how things are getting shifted? Are no more transactional volunteering, which you saw. Like, how can we transition ourselves from a transactional to transformational? And that's happening through a skilled talent being deployed in NGOs in different forms. They come and they do an internship, they take a sabbatical, right? So now what is available there is an immense opportunity for all of us to tap and see how we can design programs which are impactful at a pro bono level, right? So that becomes super critical. Then building strategies and roadmaps. I guess there is also now AI which can help, but also a skilled person and an employee can really make a lot of difference when it comes to these things, right? So assisting in training, that is free. It shows as fee, okay? Free open tools. So I'm sure there are a lot of open tools what we can actually take in advantage of. So I'm sure a lot of corporate employees will be already doing it at a personal capacity, which NGOs needs to tap, so that it becomes how efficiently you can make things. Even this particular deck is being done by AI, right? So I just gave relevant prompts and it just helped me come up with the content what is actually required, and hardly I took, I think, 10 to 15 minutes, nothing more than that. Otherwise, probably without AI, I would have done 2 घंटा या 3 घंटा लग जाएगा उसमें, right? Yeah. So what's the other shift? What is happening is volunteering is actually, initially, if you see, it was just the contribution to the community, what was happening. But now there's a lot more deeper investments which corporates are doing, where it can enable the NGO capacity building. So are you all thinking in that direction? Becomes super, super critical, where you can unlock directly the skills of employees to build your capacity, right? Not just volunteering for the community, but this can also help you. So this is one more aspect which can be thought through around. So we'll look at implementation, because we have both the stakeholders in the room, right? So I've just tried to put like 5 pillars which can help all of us. Starting off with purpose, right? So let's try to see and define what is the real purpose of this particular engagement. How do we want to structure it? How do we design it? So that really helps them have a common goal, right? So it's just not like 2 stakeholders thinking 2 different objectives, then it's gone, right? So what's the real purpose? How can we come closer to it, even though we are 2 different stakeholders? That becomes super important. The next one is the people. So we have people on both sides, and how we can really unlock. And that becomes, morning, I think Harish was saying about their resources, right? So how can we really unlock with the people and ensure that we tap their right skills? That becomes super critical. Next. Projects. So over here, I have actually mentioned about prioritizing skill-based, outcome-driven. But we may have to really think through how we can make it much more easy, chewable for employees when they come on board, right? So it can work in different ways. I guess Santosh was mentioning about how an employee commits themselves for like a longer period, right? So that can be done through even a smaller capsules like a boosters. So the program outcome is actually, it is a commitment of 1 year. But what will happen is employees from different batches come and go and invest themselves to that particular one single program. So then there's going to be an amplifying effect in the on the program itself. So that can happen. Say for example, if monthly once an employee can just commit themselves, let them commit. But this particular program is 12 months. So you'll have cohorts coming in, going out, coming in, going out, investing for the same program makes a lot of difference, right? So we can see how we can design that kind of, programs which will be like a booster, but outside for the community, it's an impactful program. Right. The next is partnerships. So that becomes super critical. So all stakeholders coming together and being part of it makes the magic. And the last one is proof. So how do we measure that? Right, so even there is a lot of transition which has happened. So what you should do, what you should not do. is actually also presented here. So let's stop measuring what is number of volunteers, hours volunteered, right? And then head count of participation. So I think this has become a little bit of an old story right now in the AI world, right? So how do we move towards the next one is, let's start measuring basically the lives impacted, leadership competencies built in the NGO itself, right? The program success, need versus contribution. This is like something which I'm trying to explore. What is the real need? Can I transition that to a contribution, how employees can actually give, right? How can I make it a chewable thing for them? So that is one aspect. And another aspect is there a way we can quantify the whole contribution monetarily, right? So how has been the ROI of that particular volunteering engagement itself? So this also becomes super critical for all of us, right? So these are some important things which will technically help all of us to design things. And since we are all in the same room, some of the things are applicable for some stakeholders, some are applicable for other. But the catch is, if we don't work together, it is going to be very difficult. So we need to bring in a lot of transparency in what we do. And we should just put it out right in front of us that it's going to be challenging, right? So how do we really solve for it? So that's what we need to do. So with that, basically, let's unlearn, right? Because I'm sure we were talking about Gen Z coming into play, but there is also Alpha and Beta who has already started. So we need to start chasing them. And for that, what should be our plan as such is what we need to think. So we are just actually solving for yesterday. But Alpha is in and Beta is also coming in, right? So can we think little ahead? So that's what we need to actually co-create going forward. So Doc, randomly an idea was coming in. You mentioned about Sewa portal, but how about having this kind of a cohort and have an unfiltered conversation and do a design thinking workshop on volunteering? Just try, let's bring everybody, you bring your challenges, I'll bring my challenges, then we'll sit together to see how we can actually collaborate. Just a very radical idea which came in, so maybe we can think about it. Yeah, so thank you.
Thank you, Vamshi. I request Aarti to please present the certificate to Vamshi.